Hare Krishna. This morning we will discuss Canto 1, Chapter 6, Conversation between Narada and Vyas, and we will discuss verses 11 and verses 11 till 16 today. So we will first read text 11. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Spitanjana Padam Statra Puragrama Vachakaram Ketakarvata Vatischa Vanaya Upavannanicha. After my departure, I passed through many flourishing metropolises, towns, villages, animal farms, mines, agricultural lands, valleys, flower gardens, nursery gardens, and natural forests. Read also the purport. Man's activities in agriculture, mining, farming, industries, gardening, etc. were all on the same scale as they are now, even previous to the present creation, and the same activities will remain as they are, even in the next creation. After many hundreds of millions of years, one creation is started by the law of nature, and the history of the universe repeats itself practically in the same way. The mundane wrangles waste time with archaeological excavations without searching into the vital necessities of life. After getting an impetus in spiritual life, Narada Muni, even though a mere child, did not waste time for a single moment with economic development. Although he passed towns and villages, mines, and industries, he continually went on the progressive spiritual emancipation. Srimad Bhagavatam is a repetition of history which happened some hundreds of millions of years ago. What is said here, only the most important factors of history are picked up to be recorded in this transcendental literature. Om Mahyanatimandasyā Chanjana Smakan Sakshan Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Chitchetayamano Vistam Stapitam Yena Bhutaleshvam Apakadam Amdadati Svapalantikam Vandeham Shiru Shiyuda Padkamalam Shirum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Jagajatam Sagana Raghunatam Pitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savaduttam Parijana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagalita Shivishakam Vitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhudina Pandajat Pate Gopesha Kopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavana Sutadevi Pranamama Haripriye Pankha Kalpa Visha Kripa Sindhuvisha Padnam Bhavani Bhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sati Gaura Bhaktavina Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Desatani Hare Krishna, we see here Narada Muni is telling the story of his previous life to Srila Vyasadeva. And he has told already how he was born as a maid of a servant, as the son of a maid servant. And now we were serving these Bhaktivedantas who came to take shelter during the Chaturmasya. And they were taken care of by his mother. She was cooking for these sages and was serving them, and Narada was helping them serving and took with their permission their remnants afterwards. And he was hearing their discussions during 4 months. He was hearing the Bhagavatam 4 months, and he became sober, and he was put on the spiritual path, chanting the holy names, hearing about Krishna. In that sense, he got initiation by these sages, but then they left after 4 months. And so then Srila Vyasadeva asked the question, what did you do after they went away? How did you pass your life after initiation? And how did you get your spiritual body that you have now? And you remember your previous life? How is this? That you remember, and your previous life was in another day of Brahma, that's million years ago. How can you remember that? So then we heard last time that Narada tells Vyasadeva, after the sages left, I had only my mother. My mother had only me, so there was no father. And I was very attached to my mother, and my mother was very attached to me. But one night, my mother went to milk a cow in the middle of the night and was bitten by a cobra, and she left her body. But then he says she left her body, but I took it as a special mercy of the Lord. So that's very interesting. He has only his mother, and his mother leaves her body. And he say, oh, this is the special mercy of the Lord. Because by hearing of these Bhaktivedantas, he was already spiritually advanced. And at least he was on the path of spiritual advancement. And he understood his misfortune as a sign of Krishna's mercy. So that is not easy for us, for most devotees, to see all your calamities in your life as Krishna's mercy. But how to do this? Srila Prabhupada explains this in the purport, that he says, all our attachment in this world is mundane prosperity. It's a kind of fever, these attachments. And Krishna, if he takes the object of our fever away, then he lowers the temperature of the material fever. Because little Narada was thinking, yes, my mother passed away, and now I'm free. Now I can go and follow my path to make spiritual advancement. And he left for the north. So he understood this material attachment is very dangerous, because due to this material attachment, we take birth again. And these attachments are deviating our consciousness to things in this world. And he wanted to direct his consciousness to Krishna, to the holy name, to hearing about Krishna, absorbed in transcendental subject matters. Because if we are absorbed in things of this world, then we are identifying with the body and become absorbed in the body, in all these temporary things in this world. But this body is temporary. We are not this body. We are spiritual beings going from one body to another. And he has had a deeper understanding. That's very rare. Someone has that understanding in this world. Only devotees can have that kind of intellectual, spiritual intellect to understand their real position. Because the more we are absorbed in the mind and things of this world, the more we suffer and the more we identify with this body. We will hear in a few verses later that at a certain moment, Krishna will give little Narada the experience of bhava, near the love of Godhead. And it was so blissful. And he forgot about the body. So that's a question. Why does someone who is spiritual advanced, who is on that level of bhava, why does this person not suffer? Why does he not suffer from old age? So many suffering from old age in the body. Because his consciousness is not in the body, it's in its real self. If you put your consciousness in the body and in the mind, you suffer like hell. But we have to go with our consciousness and identify with our real self. And then if we constantly engage in devotional service, our real thinking, feeling, and willing will become active from the spiritual soul. But yes, little Narada took it as a special mercy of the Lord. And after conducting all the rites and cremating the body, he walked to the north, it is said. It is said, some of our acharyas says this is not happened on this earth. It's millions of years ago, on some planet. And interesting. But millions of years ago, what does he see? Villages, animal farms, agricultural lands, and we will hear further in the next verse about mines, farming, and so on. So millions of years ago, this exploitation of the material world, of the earth, was already going on. Nothing changed with today. What he saw, people do the same thing. So Narada was free. And he started to walk. And in the next verse here we see what he saw. I passed through the hills and mountains full of reservoirs of various minerals like gold, silver, and copper, and through tracts of land with reservoirs of water filled with beautiful lotus flowers, fit for the denizens of heaven, decorated with bewildered bees and singing birds. And then I passed alone through many forests of rushes, bamboo, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, and caves, which were very difficult to go through alone. I visited deep, dark, and dangerously fearful forests, which were the play yards of snakes, owls, and jackals. So he became a fearless traveler. So here in the Srila Prabhupada makes many points, important points, that so first of all, Narada was fixed in making spiritual progress. He had no interest in all the things that he saw in this world. He wanted contact with Krishna. That he had no interest in these mines and so on. And he was fearless. That he was 5-6 years old. That you can imagine the effect of hearing and with faith from these Bhaktivedantas. He was convinced, I'm not his body. So he was walking like a mendicant. And he was focused on his spiritual advancement. But now in the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about this is the mood of a sannyasi, he says. That we will read here the purport. It is the duty of a mendicant, Privratshakacharya, to experience all varieties of God's creation by traveling alone through all forests, hills, towns, villages, etc., to gain faith in God and strength of mind, as well as to enlighten the inhabitants with the message of God. A sannyasi is duty-bound to take all these risks without fear, and the most typical sannyasi of the present age is Lord Chaitanya, who traveled in the same manner to the central Indian jungles, enlightening even the tigers, bears, snakes, deer, elephants, and many other jungle animals. That in this age of Kali, sannyas is forbidden for ordinary man. One who changes his dress to make propaganda is a different man from the original ideal sannyasi. One should, however, take the vow to stop social intercourse completely and devote life exclusively to the service of the Lord. The change of dress is only formality. Lord Chaitanya did not accept the name of a sannyasi, and in this age of Kali, the so-called sannyasis should not change their form names following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya. In this age, devotional service of hearing and repeating the holy glories of the Lord is strongly recommended. And one who takes the vow of renunciation of family life need not imitate the Parivakacharya like Narada and Lord Chaitanya. He may sit down at some holy place and devote his whole time and energy to hear repeatedly chant the holy scriptures left by the acharyas like the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Every sentence here has a deep meaning. First, we will speak about the duty of a mendicant, of a sannyasi. In the Vedic system, normally to become a sannyasi was a gradual process. You have 4 levels of sannyasis: the Bauddha, the Kutachak, the Parivratshakacharya, and the Paramahamsa. 4 stages. In the beginning, that the candidate sannyasi would leave his family and go to the next village, and he would meditate on his spiritual practice, and his family or someone would bring him every day some food. That's the Bauddha. Then in the next stage, he would start begging, and so one will not bring in food anymore. He will begging like they do in Vrindavan, that begging rotis, chapatis, that is the Kutachak stage, the next stage. And then the next stage after that is Parivrachaka Acharya. It starts to wander and begging, and enlightening all those whom they meet. So this is the traveling preacher, and here Lord Chaitanya is the ideal sannyasi, and is compared here to a Parivrachakacharya, one who travels fearlessly and preaches Krishna consciousness. But it is not that everyone has to become a Parivrachacharya. No, Lord Chaitanya said, no, but you have to give up this family life, this talking with your wife about all mundane things, which makes you suffer, because it brings your consciousness right into all the bodily things in this world. No, you have to get out of it. And it is said here, one should go to some holy place. And Srila Prabhupada said, one should repeatedly chant the holy scriptures of the great acharyas, like the 6 Goswamis. So if one is become advanced, and one then goes to a holy place, and then you hear the scriptures of the 6 Goswami. There are so many scriptures. Shiva Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Rupa Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami. All wrote books, so many. If you go to the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you go to the Madhya Lila, the first chapter of the Madhya Lila, that there are commentaries by Prabhupada and by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, with list of books that the 6 Goswamis were writing. Of course, we cannot jump to this, but Prabhupada gives here a hint. When you come to in the last phase of your life, you get out of this material entanglement and get into the books of the 6 Goswamis. Of course, you cannot study the books of the 6 Goswamis if you have not yet studied the Bhagavatam. That you must have already read a few times the whole Bhagavatam, and then you can study these books with deeper knowledge and appreciation. But that is interesting what Srila Prabhupada said, that not everyone has to become a Parivrachacharya. Of course, later we will hear about the Ghostanandi, that the preacher, and the Bhajanananda, the one who does not preach, who just does one bhajan. But whatever, the Parivrachacharya is certainly an option that allows us to get the mercy of Krishna and make quick advancement. But one cannot jump to that level. That therefore, it is said in the Vedas, is Bauda, Kutachak, and then Parivrachakacharya. And above the Parivrachacharya is a Paramahamsa. But Lord Chaitanya, he showed how to be a Parivrachacharya. He was preaching to South India, that the Paramahamsa, who were Paramahamsa? The 6 Goswamis were Paramahamsa. They didn't take the sannyas dress, that they were all free from all bodily designations, because it's also, when you think yourself a sannyasi, that's That is the body concept of life. We are all servants of Krishna. So they are on a higher level. So we cannot imitate the Paramahamsa in that sense. But the point Srila Prabhupada makes is a sannyasi is duty-bound to take all risks without fear. That's the perfect sannyasi. And Lord Chaitanya is showed the life of a perfect sannyasi. That all the women would stay far away from him, that they respected that, and his association with women would be practically nothing. That, of course, we have to be practical also in the preaching. But for sannyasi, it's very clear. He closed the door. That's what Bhakti Charumaraj said. That I was so happy that Srila Prabhupada gives me sannyas. He closed the door. That no sex life. That's all finished. No, so in this age, of course, and Srila Prabhupada writes that here, sannyas is forbidden for ordinary men. So who can take sannyas, who not? What is forbidden in this age is that one takes sannyas without knowledge. One becomes old and one takes sannyas. No, that's forbidden. Also, what's forbidden in this age is Mayavadi sannyas. That's forbidden. But Vaishnava sannyas is recommended. That's recommended. This is in the scriptures. I don't remember all the details, but there is a scripture that explains that, what I'm telling here now. And I wrote about that an article many years ago, which was posted on the Sannyas website. If I find it, I can find the details. But it's all described how that, because it is mentioned in that scripture, that scripture where it is said, in Kali Yuga sannyas is forbidden. That is a scripture which is about karma kanda and so on. And it has to be understood in that realm. That is forbidden. But Vaishnava sannyas is recommended because Lord Chaitanya took sannyas. That in the Sri Sampradaya, so many sannyasis, that Shetacharyas took sannyas. So that is clear, yeah. But for ordinary men who have no knowledge about bhakti or spiritual knowledge, it's forbidden. So sannyas means I take a vow to stop all intercourse, social intercourse completely. And we see here, little Narada, he was 6 years old and he was on that level. He had no interest to interact with anything in this world. Because it brings you to the bodily conception of life. I remember this is 25 years ago. I was in Radhadesh with Kadamakana Maharaj. At that time, he had just taken sannyas. And when he took the shower in the morning, he was just 5 minutes in the bathroom. He was out of it. Not too much of the body, just what's needed and out of it. That he was fixed on spiritual practice, and that's important. Devote our life exclusively to the service of the Lord. So we cannot imitate a Parivagacharya, but still, Srila Prabhupada says the need is there We can go to a holy dam, and even if we are not yet at the end of our lives, we can also go to the holy dam and only hear about Krishna, speak about Krishna, chant that. So a mendicant's duty is not to beg but enlighten the householders spiritually. So that's the function of a sannyasi. He's a preacher. He has to preach. That using his body, mind, and words in the service of the Lord by preaching. Therefore, it's called Tridanda. 3 dandas in one. 3. That body, mind, and words. And the sannyas takes this danda to remind him always, I must use my body, mind, and words in the service of Krishna, in the service of his preaching mission. That good. Then we have a few verses to go. 14. Parishrantandriyat aham trit parito babukshitaha snatva pitva radhenadya upabrishto gatashama. This traveling I felt tired both bodily and mentally, and I was both thirsty and hungry. So I took a bath in a river, in a lake, and also drank water. By contacting water, I got relief of my exhaustion. Srila Prabhupada writes, a traveling mendicant can meet the needs of the body, namely thirst and hunger, by the gifts of nature without being a beggar at the doors of the householders. The mendicant therefore does not go to the householder to beg, but to enlighten him spiritually. Yeah, we will hear that. We heard that before, that the traveling mendicant goes to the house of a householder to beg half liter of milk, but his real purpose is to, during that time that he is there, the time for milking a cow, that he is enlightening the householders and gives them transcendental knowledge. So that's the purpose of a sannyasi, a traveling mendicant, that to enlighten others spiritually. Therefore, what are the qualifications of a sannyasi? Yeah, this is 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, first verse. Abhaya sattva samsrutir jnana yoga vyavastiti. That Abhaya fearlessly preaching. Sattva samsrutir, only acting for his purification. We become purified when we are in contact with Krishna. So no social intercourse that's going to contaminate my conscience again. Therefore, a sannyasi is socially that it doesn't care for all this so-called family attachment and so on. That's over. The door is closed. So now he continues. After that, he has an experience. After that, under the shadow of a banyan tree, in an uninhabited forest, I began to meditate upon the super soul situated within, using my intelligence, and as I learned from liberated souls. So here, this is important, that this meditation on the super soul within, you cannot do whimsically. you must meditate that and being trained to do that, trained intelligence. That let's read the purport first. Purport explains. One should not meditate according to one's personal whims. One should know perfectly well from the authoritative sources of scriptures to the transparent medium of a bona fide spiritual master, and by use of one's trained intelligence for meditating upon the supersoul dwelling within every living entity. So how to do that? That will be explained further in the Bhagavatam, especially in the second canto, the first and second chapter, the Lord in the heart will be described, and how to meditate on the Lord in the heart in a bona fide way. And this meditation must be done based on transcendental knowledge. The supersoul, what's the supersoul doing? Sarvasyam Redishnas Sanivishtimatra Shmiti Hanamapamsa. He gives knowledge, forgetfulness, and knowledge, forgetfulness, that and remembrance, that and also, yeah, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam, Rita Sayunatisate Brahmam Sarva Bhutanam, Yantiradi Maya. I'm sitting in everyone's heart, and from me comes here, and I control the wanderings of all living entities. So that's Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I'm the doer, that I'm controlling material nature. So if one feels the supersoul in the heart, then one will also observe, at least through one's intelligence, how Krishna is controlling everything. So this is based on transcendental knowledge. In the 13th chapter, Krishna speaks about the supersoul is the witness, Anumanta, is the permitter, that is in everyone's heart, still is one. So that's all knowledge, which helps us to understand how to meditate on the supersoul using one's intelligence. And we know by chanting Hare Krishna, we are directing the chanting to Krishna in the heart. We do deity worship. What's the purpose of deity worship? There you have also, we will hear that at the end of the third canto, that and there Lord Kapila Dev says the deity of the purpose of deity worship is you see the deity on the altar and you transfer the deity to your heart, and you see the same deity in your heart and in the heart of others. So that's the exercise. That is how, with intelligence, to train ourselves to see the supersoul, because Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmaka Avhasta Nisun Shev Shapakshya Pandita Samadakshana. You see the supersoul everywhere, then in everyone's heart. And what happens when we see the supersoul everywhere in everyone's heart? You will never degrade yourself, Krishna says. You will never be lost. That's all knowledge of how to perceive the supersoul. That must be learned from authoritative sources. And we have the great authority here of the Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada writes, this consciousness is firmly developed by devotee who has rendered service unto the Lord by carrying out orders of the spiritual master, because that is what will happen. If on the order of the spiritual master we perform devotional service, then the coverings of our heart are removed, And then we become in eye with the supersoul. And that's described, Citatmana Pashantasma, that's Paramatma Samahita, 6-7 of Bhagavad Gita. When one becomes completely peaceful, because all material desires and discoverings are gone, you come directly in touch with the supersoul in the heart. But yeah, it said here, Sinarda contacted bona fide spiritual masters, served them sincerely, and got enlightenment rightly. Thus he began to meditate. And we will see, Krishna will give him some special mercy. He's not completely pure, but nearly that. And he will give him an experience of bhava. Text 16. As soon as I began to meditate upon the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead with my mind transformed in transcendental love, tears rolled down my eyes. And without delay, the personality, Sri Krishna, appeared on the lotus of my heart. So this is not an experience of the mind. It's not experience in the mind. It's directly an experience of the soul. This ecstasy that he felt, that this love that he felt, that sometimes we think we feel ecstasy, but it's just reflection we find in the mind. But the real thing is overwhelming, that purport. The word bhava is significant here. So a bhava is the preliminary stage for prema. So that's so if one has one drop of bhava multiplied by millions and millions and millions times, then one comes to one drop of prema. We cannot imagine that. But of course, one drop of Brahman realization multiplies by millions and millions and millions and millions. It's not comparable to one drop of bhava. We cannot imagine this happiness. So the bhava stage is attained after one has transcendental affection for the Lord. So transcendental affection means you become attracted to the Lord. Ruchi must be there. A very strong attraction. Such a strong attraction that you don't want to speak about anything of this world anymore. Forget it. Wife, children, all the rest, you leave it behind. That's all Maya. That when you are on that platform, but that's, of course, for us, let us first come to the platform of liberation. That takes already 40, 50 years, and because this bhava, because we can come to liberation and get the mercy of the Lord by pleasing the spiritual master, by following his instructions. But then after that is pure the mercy of the Lord, and also is pure devotees. But it's pure mercy, and that's not under our control. So after liberation, it's up to Krishna what happens. So this bhava stage is attained after one has transcendental affection for the Lord. The first initial state is called Shraddha. This Prabhupada explains here the whole process, how to come to bhava. First Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, and then Nishtha, which is liberation, and then Ruchi, Asakti, and then Bhava. It's a long journey, and you must know what all these terms means, and the symptoms of this. So the Bhava stage is attained after one has transcendental affection for the Lord. The first initial state is called Shraddha, or a liking for the Supreme Lord. And in order to increase that liking, one has to associate with pure devotees of the Lord, sadhu sangha. And the third stage is the practice, bhajana kriya. Practicing of all the instructions of the spiritual master. You chant, you do deity worship, you hear the Bhagavatam. These are the prescribed duties and regulations of devotional service. And that will dissipate all sorts of misgivings. Then we become purified. And then that's anartha nivritti. And remove all personal deficiencies that hamper progress in devotional service. Mostly that's a long process, and when you are purified, when all misgivings and personal deficiencies are removed, there is a standard faith in transcendental matter and a taste for it increased proportions. If you are liberated after 40 years chanting of something, or after a few lifetimes, or after 10 years, can be, if you are a very special soul. So when all misgivings and personal deficiencies are removed, there is standard faith in transcendental matter, and the taste for it increases in great proportion. Then you become attracted to Krishna, and you have lost your attraction for this material world. It's going down like anything. So this stage leads to attraction. And after this, there is bhava. So this ruchi, asakti. Asakti is where you find Krishna in the heart. And even Narada in his previous life, Krishna gave him at once a drop of bhava. That there is bhava. On the prior stage, unalloyed love for Krishna. All the above different stages are but different stages of development of transcendental love. It's the same process. You do the same thing through the whole thing. Whether you are liberated or not, you chant, you serve Krishna, but the realization becomes different. Being surcharged with transcendental love, there comes a strong feeling of separation which lead to 8 different kinds of ecstasies. Tears from the eyes of a devotee is an automatic reaction, and because Narada Muni in his previous birth attained that stage very quickly after his departure from home, it was quite possible for him to perceive the actual presence of the Lord, which he tangibly experienced by his developed spiritual senses without material things. So this is the point, that he has this experience of seeing Krishna eye to eye in the heart, in the lotus of his heart. So next session, we will start here again and go a little deeper in this, because these stages are very important. Any questions, please?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. Maharaj, about the anartha nivritti, as I have heard personally, it's a long process, and then it could take millions of years, or it could take a few years. So how to understand, is it really working, anartha nivritti in our life, in this example, like my life, or is it because sometimes we feel, yes, it is happening, but sometimes I feel, yes, I'm going further and further down. Then how we can understand, first, it is working, and the second question is how to make sure that we are continuously walking towards like improving ourselves, because over the years in Krishna consciousness, or any process in that matter, over the years we feel, okay, it is going on, it is okay, so that seriousness becomes a little less. So we take it work more casually, right? So how to avoid that is the second question.
Yeah, the point is that the cleansing of the heart starts when we give up our offensive mentality. Now, offensive mentality is our tendency to exploit this world for our sense gratification. But the question is, does it work? Does it not work? It works always, but it works on different levels. That is important to understand. It is that even if you chant unconsciously, still it will remove your previous karma. It will remove your previous karma. But that's not the only covering. There are also other coverings which are more heavy than our previous karma. That is only this is only the reactions of our sinful activities. And these are coverings, but they are reality removed for sure. No doubt about that. But what is also to be removed is namaparat, sevaparat. And that's namaparat is our offensive mentality. That's if we start to serve devotees and respect them and never criticize them, then anartha nivritti will quicker start. Then anartha nivritti will start. If we start to respect and follow all the instructions of the spiritual master, not only those who we like, but all of them, that if we concentrate on folding our life as such that we follow these instructions, and especially we try not to live for ourselves, but for spreading Krishna consciousness. That is pleasing Krishna. And then our mentality will change. Our mentality must change. That the idea that I'm the enjoyer of this world. You can see people, how they are. Sometimes you have devotees and they speak always about themselves and their experience and they talk about themselves and what they experience. But that's a symptom of being still deep attached to this world. That you should talk about how to spread Krishna consciousness and how to serve Krishna better. That is a change of mentality. So it's up to us. If we become really serious, Krishna will give our mercy. And the mercy comes to the spiritual master, for sure. But if we are very casual and we think, yes, I want a good life and then be a devotee at the same time, you live in illusion. Because this place, this material world, is a world of suffering. You cannot have a good life in it. That's just the suffering, the cause of suffering. We have to get out of this illusion. And what's the point mostly? Why we don't get that point? We don't hear sufficient from the Bhagavatam. We don't hear sufficient Bhagavad Gita. That should be our guides with the purpose of Prabhupada. And then things will become, then we will healthy make spiritual advancement. So that's the point. We cannot have both material happiness and spiritual happiness. You must give up your tendency for spiritual trying to become materially happy in this world. And how to do this? Association with pure devotees. That's your answer. Association with pure devotees. Those who are pure, those who are advanced, associate with them. So I just recap a few points that hear sufficient from the Bhagavatam and so on. That will change our mentality. And associate with pure devotees. Follow the instruction of the spiritual masters. We must do all these things. And then we are bound to make spiritual advancement. And what you say about, but if we make spiritual advancement, we think we are going backwards. Because we become more humble, and I think, oh, I'm such a nonsense. But that's a good sign. That's a good sign. Then you are really making spiritual advancement. That you understand, it depends not on me. I need mercy. Mercy comes from these pure devotees. Does that help?
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah, thank you very much, Maharaj.
Yeah, sorry that. I try to express the essence, something that would help you to think about these things.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that, Maharaj.
Any other question?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Krishna, Mother Prema Prada, yeah.
Maharaj, I have a question.
Yeah.
We always hear Narad Muni stories like two ways. One is he's son of Brahma, and then we hear this story. He is his past life. He was a maid servant son, and then he gave up his life. So, how to understand these two births of Narad Muni?
Well, first, we will see at the end of this section that Narada Muni will get his spiritual body as a flesh and a light. That's how we get his spiritual body. Then as a pastime, he entered Mahavishnu, and through Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, the next day of Brahma, he appeared from Brahma when he meditated on bhakti. But it's not that Brahma gave him a body. No, he appeared in that self-same spiritual body. He had his spiritual body. And the experience of being in the body of Mahavishnu and so on, a day of Brahma, for us that is a long time. But when you are on the spiritual platform, you are a spiritual body, you are beyond time and space. We cannot imagine that. But it was like a second for him. The whole experience, like for Mahavishnu, is on the same level, spiritual level. And he has his exhalation, 1 second exhalation, and all the creation comes out. So the experience of time was different. So he appeared in the self-same spiritual body that as a pastime. Does that help, Mother Prema Prada?
Sorry, Maharaj. So he was born as a maid servant, and then he appeared from Brahmaji. Is that?
Yeah, but he did not take birth from Brahma. He appeared in his spiritual body before him as a pastime. Once you have your spiritual body, you don't take birth again. that so it was a pastime that Krishna arranged that he has his service there to appear as the son of Brahma as a pastime. Because Narada Muni is Trikalagya. He knows past, present, and future. Inconceivable. He knows. And that appears also from Krishna's pastimes. That he knows what's going to happen. And he went to see Krishna when he killed the last demon in Vrindavan. He went to see him separately and said, yeah, I want you to accelerate your pastimes because I want to see you do, I want to see you how you kill Sisupal. I want to see you how, yeah, and all these Varka pastimes. He told that to Krishna. He knew already what was going to happen. So that's the spiritual platform. We cannot imagine that Trikalagya, that is beyond space and time. So that's the spiritual platform. Does that help, Mother Prema Pran?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, good. Thank you. And
Thank you.
if Krishna willing, I'm seeing you next week, Friday?
On Friday.
On
Friday. Yes, ma'am.
Next Friday. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Same time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. I appreciate
Jai
it.
Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. Jai Guru. Hare Krishna.